That's okay.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Hollister Planning Commission on January 22nd, 2026. The meeting is now called to order and it is 6:01. Staff, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Carla Torres de Luna,
Here.
Commissioner Damien Perez,
Here.
Commissioner Julio Rodriguez. Commissioner Peter Hernandez is not currently here. And for the record, Chair Stephen Belong is absent tonight with an excused absence.
Okay. Would someone like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I can do it.
Oh, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And this is the time for public input. If anyone in the audience wants to speak on any item on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to staff before speaking. When the commission secretary calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record to speak to the commission. If you're joining us by Zoom, please click on the bottom of the screen to raise your hand. And if you're joining us by Zoom using a cell phone, please press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the commission from discussing or taking action on any item. Oh, and I forgot to mention about there's a worldwide Microsoft technology issues. So if for those on Zoom, if something happens with technology, we apologize, but we will continue the meeting. So any public comment?
I have no hands raised online.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the commission on items on the consent agenda? Or are there any items that the commission would like to pull for further discussion? Nope. And staff, do we have any public comments on items from the consent agenda?
I have no hands raised online.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 3-0. Next is item 6, public hearings. May we have the staff report for 6.1, site and architectural review.
Good evening. My name is Magda Gonzalez, and I am presenting Site and Architectural Review 2025-2. The applicant is Sunil Kapoor, and the proposal is located at 40 Santa Ana Road. There you go. The parcel is designated North Gateway. It's surrounded by mostly developed parcels with which it wouldn't be beneficial, or used for the laundromat, removal of 2 pergolas, and improvements such as new concrete areas, new curb and gutter, new wheel stops, repaved parking spaces, an ADA accessible space, a bicycle space, additional landscaping that actually meets the current standards, and their hours of operation will be they will operate daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Next, please. This is the site plan they're proposing. It includes a pedestrian path of travel, a trash enclosure that's compliant with current requirements. As I mentioned, additional landscaping on the front and on the sides, and restriped parking, as well as other infrastructure improvements. And exterior improvements include new paint and architectural features to enhance the existing building, which is at the moment a little bit outdated, especially when you consider the surrounding Starbucks and other areas. Yeah, so this will be a nice addition to the building. Next, please. This is what they're proposing for the west building. Just most of the work is paint related and just new windows and architectural features. Next, please. This is the south view. Next, please. And the north view. They have a color scheme including dark gray, light gray, and some browns. Next, please. The proposal is compliant with both the general plan and the zoning in which it's located. The zoning requires for exterior modifications to submit to submit a site and architectural review to ensure that what they're proposing, the elevations, the exterior modifications are compliant with what the zoning district requires of them. Since they're not proposing any any expansions or any changes of use that are not allowed within it, a site and architectural application covers what they are requesting. Next, please. The project is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15302 because it is an existing facility. And as I mentioned, they're not expanding the building. They're not doing anything else except changing the use, which is allowed in that zoning and complying with the general plan. Next, please. The Planning Commission can choose one of the following options. Option number 1 is to adopt the resolution approving SNA 2025-2. Subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Option number 2 is to adopt a resolution approving SNA 2025-2 with findings or conditions of approval modified by the Planning Commission. Option number 3 is to deny the proposed project, or option number 4 is to continue the hearing and direct staff to provide additional information or clarification. Staff recommends the Planning Commission select option 1 for this item. And that completes my presentation. If you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the commission?
I'm just curious. So you're representing the applicant.
I'm the planner. The applicant should be available online. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
They might have a presentation.
Okay, I just had a question. This might be more for staff, or how long does a process like this typically take? Would you say ballpark?
I would say it typically takes about 2 reviews for your typical commercial project. So that's in the city's hands with 3 months. And then it usually takes about a month in between on a relatively fast project for comments to be addressed by the applicant. So my average short, fast turnaround project would be like a 5-month project for a commercial renovation like this.
Okay.
If it's in the applicant's hands, it takes longer to respond to comments. It can take longer.
Okay, I just want to assume worst case scenario. And if the applicant is here, because I know business, you need to start making money on that commercial property. I understand that you have, bills to pay. What is your deadline looking like? Like let's say worst case scenario, like this takes a year. Is that feasible or not feasible?
Do you want to have them do their presentation?
We'll do that. I just wanted to set that kind of precedent.
Okay. Thank you. We can now open up the public hearing at 6:11. Do we have a presentation from the applicant?
I don't know that there's a presentation, but I did see a hand raised, but May have just gone down, so give me one moment.
The last one would be the applicant, the red one, in red, yeah, that one.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm the owner of this parcel once I got the approval. So we will construct this site and remodel it within 6 months. So all the funds are there, and to add more, we are bringing state-of-the-art machines for the community.
Is he still there?
The applicant is still there, but our e-scribe just went down.
So we can't hear them.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Yeah. So answering to the question of the commission members, once upon approval, so we'll construct this site within 6 months after building department approvals.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go to public comment?
The other thing I'll add, will be bringing state-of-the-art machines as big as 120-pound washers and multiple 80-pound washers, which are not currently available for the community. So that's what we are planning for our community here.
Thank you. Staff, do we have any public comments on this item?
We have no speakers online and no speakers in the chambers.
Okay, thank you. We will now close the public hearing at 6:14. Is there further discussion from the commission on this item? Do you all have any comments, questions, concerns?
Like I said, I'm just gonna go back. I just, I'm hoping that like we can get this project through in like a timely manner, and I think I guess that's all I wanted to reiterate, because I know that's been a topic of contention. I just wanted to reiterate that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I do have a couple of comments or questions I would like the commission to consider and see if you have the answers. I live in that neighborhood, and so I know that the building is outdated, and but I'm curious, what do the other businesses say about a laundromat in that area?
We haven't received any comments
Okay.
supporting or opposing. Yeah.
Okay. I would just be curious to see if we can check in with the neighbor. Is that something that is normally done? Is it a protocol? Is it?
We do require them to post signs, advertising, letting the community know of what's proposed, and that was done. We do have confirmation that was done, and we did not receive any input. We also
Okay.
send out notifications to surrounding property owners. We also didn't receive any input on that.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that normally it would be if it's a potential nuisance, that's where the neighbors would respond, but that's all assuming the impacts, right?
Right.
And it sounds like it's not gonna be too much of it. Actually, yeah, I don't see it being very different.
Plus, there's other office space, it said,
Yeah.
yeah, so it'll
the
be
smaller
additional.
portion of the building is going to be the retail office space.
Is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendations for item 6.1, site and architectural review 2025 to converting an existing parcel at 40 Santana Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Abstain? 4-0. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is commission business. 7.1, review of proposed Phase 3 zoning ordinance amendment language of City of Hollister zoning.
Good evening. Oh, there it goes. Tonight is the third study session for Phase 3 of the zoning ordinance amendments, which is the permitting sections of our chapter. Again, once we get through all the study sessions, we'll go to a public hearing where we'll be repealing and replacing the current chapter 17.24 of the zoning ordinance. I don't know why it works and then it's not working. Tonight, we're looking at 4 chapters. We have zoning ordinance amendments, pre-zoning and annexations, development agreements, and temporary use permits. Next slide, please. Chapter 17.84 will be the new chapter for zoning ordinance amendments. This chapter is to establish the procedures for amending the text of the zoning ordinance as well as amending the zoning map, which is a rezone of a property. An amendment to the text of a zoning ordinance can be initiated by staff, the planning commission, or the city council. And an amendment to a zoning map can also be can be requested by the planning commission staff or the city council, as well as an applicant or property owner. This chapter is rewritten to comply with state law and to move sections around from within the current zoning ordinance so that they're all in one location so they're easier to find. But no major changes are proposed to this chapter. Next slide, please. Chapter 17.86 will be pre-zoning and annexation. This chapter establishes the rules and procedures for requesting an annexation into the city of Hollister prior to their pre-zoning does not expire. Zoning does not expire. And we have several that were pre-zoned several years ago, and their pre-zone is to a zoning ordinance that doesn't exist anymore. And so what we are recommending is that after a 2-year period, if they aren't moving forward with their annexation, that pre-zoning then expires, so that we don't continue to have old pre-zones on the records where when they eventually annex, they're annexing to a zoning district we no longer have. So that is one major change we are recommending in that chapter. Next slide, please. Chapter 17.88 is development agreements. Development agreements are an agreement between the city and a property owner or applicant that allows the applicant to have special concessions, as well as the city can ask for things as well within a development agreement. This chapter is designed, again, to take the existing chapter, make it a little bit more clear, and make sure that we comply with state law. Development agreements are regulated by the government code. We, within the chapter, inputted what you might have in a development agreement, and typically what we do see for development agreements is the applicant might want a longer extension of their project approvals. So now if you have a site and architectural review, for example, you get 2 years, plus you can have an extension. They may request a number of years. Development agreements for projects would come before you as part of the project, and you're gonna make a recommendation to the city council. The city council then adopts it. They're adopted by ordinance. No significant changes have been made other than making sure that the chapter is a little bit more clear and that it does comply with state law. Next slide, please. Chapter 17.100 is temporary use permits. And temporary use permits are required for temporary uses that are not otherwise allowed for the zoning district in which a property is located, but they should be allowed on a limited basis to support businesses. The city currently, and will continue to do so as recommended, categorizes temporary use permits as either minor or major. Minor temporary use permits are typically reviewed within 10 days or even over the counter. Those are things that are very minor, such as a flower sale or a parking lot sale, that we can review their site plan and typically approve it very quickly. Major temporary use permits are uses that do have the potential to result in significant impacts on the city. So, for example, a circus, a carnival, something where they are taking up a large space. There could be need for more emergency services, police services, traffic could be impacted. So those do take a little bit longer. And those are typically reviewed within 45 days, sometimes longer depending on the nature of a project. Obviously, if a project involves a significant number of resources for the city, it will take a little bit longer. Staff is not recommending many significant changes to this chapter. We are still keeping the major and minor. We listed it out a little bit more clearly in the draft, so it's easier to understand. And then we did add a few other events that we would like to allow within the city that we think would be beneficial. Those are temporary parking for an event. So if a site wanted to provide temporary parking for an event, they could do so with the permit. Major one-day events, outdoor company events, and then temporary live entertainment associated with a commercial use. So for example, if a business wanted to have live entertainment one day of the year on St. Patrick's Day, they could apply for their temporary use permit, whereas otherwise they wouldn't be allowed to do it because the code requires a conditional use permit. So we're trying to give them a few more opportunities through the temporary use permit process. Next slide, please. So next steps are, if you have any recommended changes, we will incorporate them into the draft. We will continue to bring draft chapters back to you on an ongoing basis until we are done. I believe we have anticipated 2 to 3 more study sessions, so then we will be complete with the permitting chapter. And then once all study sessions are complete, we'll move on to public hearings. It's okay.
I think we've got some computers restarting over here, so hopefully we don't lose our main one.
So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or recommended changes for the draft ordinances, I'd be happy to hear them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission?
To clarify on the developer agreement, what is the change that you're proposing in this
So
update?
for development agreements, there's not really any changes proposed. Development agreements really come out of state law, and there is not much that we can change. The chapter is just cleaned up from what's existing to make it more clear that this is what the process is. These are the things you can request as part of your development agreement, so it's a little bit easier to understand.
Okay, so it's just formatting.
Yeah, it's just formatting and a little cleanup language.
You mentioned that if someone has they had an annexation that goes beyond, like, forever basically, and there's new, there's new codes, I guess, and that might not be consistent with the way it was annexed, or it was considered to be annexed, I guess, at that time, right? And so that means it wasn't officially finalized, it was just in process.
We have several properties where they received approval from the city, but they never applied to LAFCO. So they never even took the next step. 2 years should be enough time to get your project through LAFCO. But we have many that I think are over 15 years old that they've never moved forward.
So can you, like, just give me a quick example so I kind of understand how there's a conflict?
So there's one on.
Yeah, so the what happens is we've changed, like in 2008 when we adopted our current zoning map and our current zoning languages, which is your R1 and your R2 and your general commercial, your North Gateway, our West Gateway mixed use, all of our current zoning districts, the current zoning districts did not exist at all. So we didn't go from R1 to R1. We had zoning districts like R1S and a C2 and CS1 and CS2. So those zoning districts don't even exist anymore. So when the city does a big zoning change, like right now, as you know, we're doing a general plan update, and along with that, we'll be rezoning a bunch of properties. And so these properties that were pre-zoned in anticipation of annexation, but then never finished the rest of the annexation process to actually become incorporated into the city, they're kind of just floating because our current ordinance doesn't have a timeline from once you have your pre-zone approval to when you need to get annexed. And so then you're actually zoned and in the city.
And
So we're
when-
proposing to adopt into the new ordinance a timeline to make sure those annexations happen.
Okay, and thank you for that. So then, that means that if they changed the zoning designation or whatever, from R1, or from R whatever it used to be to
Yeah.
the R1, does that mean that the use is different, or does that mean the?
Could, it
It
depends.
could, yeah, it really depends because the entire R1 zone in this case, or it just isn't in the city's ordinance anymore. But they have an approval to come into the city, and then once they're annexed, they would be zoned R1S.
Because all
But
these,
the ordinance doesn't include R1S
all
anymore.
these are like defined based off of use, right? Or
Yeah. So our zoning code will have our use tables, like our commercial use table that we recently adopted, right? Where it tells you all the uses that are allowed in West Gateway mixed use and the downtown mixed use. Prior to 2008, the city didn't have those mixed use designations. That was one of the big changes that happened in the 2005 general plan, was they created mixed use as a new zoning district. And so they had to rewrite the whole zoning code. So something that was like, I think we had a highway commercial zone or something like that we just don't have that name anymore. We don't have any regulations for highway commercial anymore. Everything got changed into the current general commercial or North Gateway commercial, whatever it currently is in our current zoning map. And those pre-zones, there's not very many, but there are a couple. The zoning district doesn't even exist anymore.
got it. Thank you. That makes sense.
So all these outdated applications, they're just nullified, or?
If this gets passed, they would be.
Okay.
There's under 10, I think, at this point.
Yeah, there's not that many.
So you'd probably just notify them, hey, by the way, it's this.
Yeah.
you have
Yeah, the
to-
ones
Yeah,
that-
the
yeah.
council would have to amend the zoning map and adopt the ordinance. It would be a process to eliminate those pre-zones, but we are proposing in this chapter that pre-zones that follow this chapter would have a timeline on them.
Okay.
I definitely support that, those pre-zones, especially if it's just R1, because I know like R1 is kind of, people like, a lot of developers still like the R1. So I'm definitely in support of having kind of like a expiration on some of these, so.
All right. Do we have public comments on this item?
We have no speaker cards and no hands raised online.
Thank you. Is there further discussion from the commission on this item? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 8, informational reports. Does anyone have reports?
Vice Chair Torres de Luna, we actually have a 7-2, which is the Planning Commission minutes discussion.
That's what I thought, but it's not on this one.
Oh, that might have been just our mistake
Yeah,
on
I
the
did-
backup. Apologies for that.
I did see that, but I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
it's gone.
that's on us. But
Okay.
yes, 7-2.
Okay, 7-2. So, do we have?
Yes, so this will be me. So this item is coming from a request of the commission to talk more about the Planning Commission minutes at the November 20th meeting of last year. So I just prepared a quick staff report about our current process, but the current process, we do take action minutes, which is what the city council takes. And then as long as we aren't having worldwide Microsoft issues, we record our meetings and we're live streamed to YouTube, Zoom, CMAP TV is here, our local news station, and then eScribe, our agenda software, records that as well, and all those recordings are available. So the city just takes action minutes and staff takes action minutes, and what we capture as far as discussion and action is going to be if you're making, a change to the resolution draft and then adopting it at the last meeting, if the commission will recall, I believe it, or at the November meeting, you took action on the October minutes, but you made a change to them. And so that change is detailed in the minutes so that the action you took, which was revising the October minutes, says what change you made from the recommendation. And so we're going to capture the discussion that's relevant to those actions and actions that are relevant to the items. And then what we do is the commission gets to see these minutes before they're published and make a motion on them. So you always have an opportunity to say you made a spelling mistake, or we'd like you to include this other discussion that we had, and then we're happy to do that. So with those October minutes that you approved in November, we made that change that is reflected in your motion in the November minutes, and those October minutes were published with the change you made through your action. So with that, because it was a request of the commission to talk more about this, happy to have any further discussion or questions on the minutes that you guys see for your meetings.
Are there questions from the commission?
So, it sounds like basically we're agreeing that there should be at least a little bit more, ultimately, information referencing at least the discussion of the items, not necessarily, and I get it, I guess prior commissions, it was only recorded what was like actions taken. But I personally, I'm just not used to that, and I honestly think it's it's harder to trace back how decisions first started, because ultimately it first starts as a conversation, then it gets into actual recommendations, and ultimately into potential changes. Until you can, that's why to me minutes should at least reflect a summary of kind of the recommended thoughts, right, of a potential decision, whether it's a policy change, right, or a recommendation to the council. I know now the city council has, ultimately made it explicit in our bylaws that says we can actually make recommendations, policy recommendations to the council. And obviously I don't want to make staff have to type up word for word, but I do believe that at least kind of a reference point of, there was a recommendation from Commissioner, Torres on XYZ. And that, and then from there, at least you can trace back how the conversation started.
And that's not pretty much what's going to happen, right? Is that what you described?
I think that I would say that it is. I think what happened with the particular item that kind of brought this all to the attention is that that item was a study session, just a presentation by staff, and unfortunately the items that we talked about bringing back aren't something that I can bring back. And so that's why I didn't capture them, but we did put them in the minutes at your recommendation. So if there ever was a discussion where it was something that, you were asking for more information, so an item was continued, and then that information needed to be captured so that staff could bring that back, that is something that happened, and it's going to get brought back, and that's specifically why. So I do apologize for not capturing those things. It was because of the conversation we were having in September at that meeting about how those things weren't things that could come back. So I didn't capture them in the minutes to say they were going to come back because they weren't going to come back. So for the example, these minutes discussion, they are in the minutes, and they were going to come back, and so that's captured in the minutes. And I will also say I'll capture a little bit more nuanced detail of the discussion kind of for topics in the planning commissioner reports section of the minutes. Every time I'll try to get what you're saying about events that you might have attended, or things like that. It's really going to be the actions about those items that are on the agenda are going to be pretty. We talked about amending this condition, and then the motion amended that condition as we discussed. That's kind of how we capture those action minutes.
Okay. Do we do public comment on these two? Okay.
In general, basically from what it sounds like, right, so we're a planning commission. We're not legislators. We're not councilmen or supervisors. So we're not, when they report out, they're reporting out, I went to go visit the grand opening or the whatever, and it's
Right.
that's stuff that's neither here nor there, right? Unless it's maybe pertinent to something that is gonna come. That's where it gets a little nuanced. So, but I get it. I mean, obviously, yeah, those kind of things aren't necessarily as important. But sometimes it's like a question could even become an eventual discussion, which will become a policy consideration. And then it's like, well, how did they get here if you don't have the record of it? So I don't know, maybe even a little bit more clarity on what that means for these ideas to become an actual, or thoughts, right, or even questions. I mean,
Well, I mean, we
I
get
just
the
think it's
minutes,
important.
and maybe we kind
that's
of
why the
see,
minutes are important.
yeah, and so we could review them, and then like we
Mhm.
did, right, and then we'll say, oh, we didn't mention, X discussion, can we make sure that we include it, as we go?
Yeah.
And if I could potentially make a suggestion, if we're into, especially on these like study session items, as we're talking and the commission wants to make sure something's noted for the record, you could tell me that in this meeting, and I'll make sure that we capture that note. Just for when it's kind of a topic of discussion, but maybe it isn't relevant to the action that's going to be taken, or in the case of a study session, there might not even be any action that's really on the agenda. But I'd be happy to, and we're here capturing, I'm taking notes, Miriam's taking notes, my team's taking notes. So if there's something that we want to make sure gets captured, even if it might be just kind of a topic we're talking about, can we throw this in the minutes, and then staff will grab that for you for the minutes, so you'll see it at the next meeting, if I
Thank
can
you.
offer that suggestion.
Sure.
Thank you. Let's see are there any public comments on this item?
We have no speaker cards and no hands raised online.
Okay, is there any further discussion from the commission on this item? No?
I mean, I think I agree. For me, like, I guess we have to be forward-thinking.
Mhm.
Like, if I'm thinking of something that ultimately could lead to a potential
Mhm.
decision, action, then I'd have to make it a point to mention it to staff.
Mhm.
Can we please put this on the record?
Right.
Then that way it's added to the minutes.
Right.
And that goes for all agenda items, even if they're just informational? No action? based?
Yeah, and I would lean towards the informational ones, especially when there's no action. So those are the ones where there's not going to be much for the minutes, unless it is something like a request to bring something back that I actually can bring back. And I know I'm understanding from the conversations we've been having over the months, right? Like when we're having these discussions, and maybe it isn't something that will be brought back, but I can look at more of the details. But there's still going to be action minutes for the most part. But when it comes to projects with actions and, a resolution, we haven't seen it much because we haven't seen a lot of projects where we're making amendments. In my years, staff has been able to be more proactive with our draft resolutions, but in the past, we used to make a lot of changes to resolutions here at the meetings. We need to remove condition 56 because of this. We need to change the language in condition 40 because it said 10-foot landscape strip, but it actually only needs to be a 5. So we were making a lot of changes, and all of that was being captured in the minutes because it led to a motion that was just, we moved to adopt the resolution with amendment to condition 47 as discussed, right? But that motion didn't have the whole conversation. So the conversation is captured so that the action can be understood. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. Thank you. Let's move on to informational reports, planning commission reports. Are there any?
I mean, I kind of alluded to it. My only report is that we, the council officially decided that they'd like to have recommendations on changes to, ultimately the process, right, with the planning department. But one of the other things that I've really been thinking about, and just for the commission to consider, is, and we can have further discussion about, I think it's important. I actually, I remember it being brought up at a prior commission meeting when we're talking about projects, like, what's in the queue, kind of because there's privacy elements, right, which I understand, maybe potential NDAs, there's kind of hesitancy for us to have that information. I mentioned actually at the council meeting that the Brown Act technically requires us to have that information. But granted that because of the privacy elements, maybe we can have our own closed session element to certain things to make sure that we're one, protecting the city, but two, we have a better understanding. Because really, it's for us to have a better understanding so that we can figure out how to troubleshoot some of these issues that we're dealing with.
No, it's a good point.
Yeah, so I think the goal is to have a transparent conversation about items that the council is wanting to focus on, but it's not necessarily within our, by the bylaws, maybe not the bylaws. So what is the approach there? I just want to be able to capture that and just, like, what would be the next step to be able to, like, after we review the process or have suggestions to the city council, like, what would be a transparent way to do that?
As far as the bylaws update, I'll let the commission give the full report, but no, I am going to talk about the bylaws and hopefully I can answer that question
Maybe
in
around-
what I was going to let you guys know. But if not, we can talk to some extent because it's not on the agenda about it. But hopefully I'll answer your questions. But I do want to let the commission give their reports.
But maybe, so if I could make a recommendation to have that agenda item as a discussion item at the next meeting on a potential closed session element, and if that could be a recommendation that the council agrees, or the commission agrees, that we could forward that as a recommendation again.
Wait, point of clarification. You're talking about having a agenda item to discuss the updates to the
So
bylaws?
just like the city council has closed session,
Closed session.
Okay.
we can add as a recommendation for the council to consider closed session also, so that we can get a little bit more of the inside info on these projects. And that way, there's a protection to the city, right? Because understandably so, they can't just completely disclose, right? Because
Right.
there's privacy and legal elements. But we should be able to at least see it in closed session. And that way, when you report out, obviously you're limited on what you're able to report out, because you're not going to report out what's
Yeah.
legally protected to be.
Gotcha.
So before we move on, you made a motion to put this on the agenda for
As a
next meeting.
discussion item.
Well,
Is
maybe
that-
maybe this is a good time to go over what the bylaws change was, just so you understand the process to add items to the agenda, because the council did adopt a specific process.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not really to add items to the planning commission agenda. That remains this kind of casual how we got the minutes. If it's something that I can bring back to you, it's in your purview, I will. I can't promise the next meeting if it's something more complicated, but within our ability to write up the conversation, we will. What the bylaws is adding is that you can make a recommendation on really anything they didn't specify through their process, and it's a similar process to what the council does now for when they want to make a recommendation to the council to consider an item for a future agenda for the council. So there's a form. I did email it to you all this afternoon, but I noted in that email that we're going to appoint a new chair and vice chair, so I might have to make a titles change depending on how that goes this evening, and then I'll resend that form to you. But there'll be a form that you can submit to me via email, or to Miriam can also capture it the Wednesday before the meeting. And then we can put it into our agenda. And what'll happen is at the end of our meeting, it'll likely be planning commission report, staff report, and then council item recommendations. And then the discussion, it won't be a discussion. The discussion will center around, does the commission want to forward that form to the council? And the way that the council does it, I figured we'd follow a similar process of a kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. We get 3 thumbs up. I'll pass it to the city clerk, who will put it on the council's agenda through their process.
Okay.
And then the council will do a thumbs up, thumbs down at their meetings, and then it'll get on an agenda from whatever staff person it's relevant to. And then if it's a planning item, like a zoning ordinance that we're working on or things like that, that you make recommendations through the code that's in your purview. It comes to you through that process that's already in the code. So this is really going to be for those topics like code enforcement and the building department and these things, fire department, all these things that aren't things we can have conversations here about.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to let the council know they wanted to give you as a body a different way to have conversations that are outside of your kind of codified conversation topics. You can go. 3 of us want the form that you guys filled out to be passed along to them.
Thank you for that. Is there any other discussion on that, or can we move on? Thank you. Go ahead.
I mean, so it sounds like we have to agree on filling out a form.
Somebody will fill it out, complete it,
Right, any one of you can fill out a form, you don't have to agree to it in advance.
and then it'll come back to our agenda, and then we will all, in the meeting, agree or not agree to the request, right? That it goes
Correct.
forward. So one of us would submit the form the Wednesday before.
Yeah,
or
that gives
the
me
week
enough
before.
time to kind of get it through all the steps in our software.
Okay.
And specifically for items for the council, for
Correct.
their agenda.
Yeah.
And all we do is decide to move forward or not.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah, because trying to remember, I was reading the red lines. The red line was all the changes. There's a lot of red lines, but yeah, it has to do with the planning commission may recommend future city council agenda items for city council consideration. Commissioners wishing to have an item included on a future city council agenda must first bring in the item before the planning commissioners. Any commissioners requesting an item for a future city council agenda must complete a city council future agenda item request form,
That's the
which is
form.
what planning director is talking about. So it's kind of the same thing, it sounds like. It's just filling out the form prior, and then it goes.
Right.
And so, from what I'm hearing, then someone fills it out, whoever it is, it gets automatically put on the agenda at that point, as long as it's before that deadline.
For
And
us
so
to
then
talk
at that
about.
point, we already get that information in advance.
Mhm.
We decide on agreeing or disagreeing with it.
Right.
And then at that point, when there's an agreement, if there's an agreement, then it gets forwarded to the council,
Right.
which is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's really just the discussion here about items that aren't in your purview. You can talk about, yep, we want to forward that form. We like the idea to the council, but we can't really have the conversations here like the things that we've talked about where it just isn't a council discussion, but you do have the ability to write it down and say, yeah, we think the council should talk about this council item. And so it'll be kind of a quick, we got this form in, it'll be part of your agenda packets with all the details from whichever commissioner submits the item. And then you guys will have that background coming into the meeting. And so it'll be a matter of, we got this request about this topic. You guys have seen it. Do you think we should pass that along to the council? And then we will.
And I would just say that form that you complete will be what goes to the city council, so the more information or that you can include to really describe to them what it is you want them to consider, it would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, are we ready to move on to 8.2 Planning Division reports? Staff, do we have any reports?
So I just wanted to report on the bylaws, so we'll kind of say that was mostly my report. And the other thing that I just wanted to let the commission know, hopefully your emails were included. I made sure to ask our consultant to update our mailing list with our new commissioners' emails, but the general plan, the public review draft of the revised general plan was published on Friday the 16th. So that's on our Hollister2040.org project website for people to look at. And so that'll be coming to you in March is the plan.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
an agenda item in March.
Yes, yeah, it'll be coming to the Planning Commission for an adoption hearing at your regular March meeting is the plan.
All right, and item number 9, appointment of our 2026 chair and vice chair. So we get to figure out who you can nominate yourself or you can nominate someone.
We have a discussion first, or?
Yes.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I personally, I'm thinking Peter Hernandez is chair, and the reason for that is just his experience on the county, so his intergovernmental experience, his understanding of the Roberts rules, and I think he's really been instrumental on kind of giving us more of a voice and a platform. Yeah, so I digress. So that's just, I'm gonna let you guys share what you guys think, but yeah.
So nomination, do you accept, first of all?
Sure.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
and
you.
is
And
there,
thank you,
and is there anyone else who wants to nominate anybody or?
Nominate you if you're interested, but you made some good points about your experience, so I'm,
Appreciate it.
you know,
Yeah.
just for your experience as well.
Thank you. And I accept too. So now, how do we,
I think the first nomination, you do a motion vote.
okay,
And then, yeah.
and
if
then
it
we just
dies,
default.
Then, yeah.
Well, you go backwards, so
Okay.
the second motion is considered first. So you would say, is there a second for the nomination of, Vice Chair Torres de la Luna,
Okay.
and then you would, if there's no second and no yes vote, then you would move on to the first, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, you go backwards.
You go back, okay. So is there a second for myself, for Torres de Luna?
I'll second that.
Then,
You call
All
for a
those in
vote.
favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Obviously, me, I'm the other one.
All right, abstain, okay. So
Oh,
three,
For her to be.
yeah, make sure you're
Vice chair. Vice chair or chair?
chair.
Oh,
Take it back?
I apologize. I thought
No.
for yourself to be vice chair. I
I
missed.
would, yeah.
Yeah, her
Yeah,
current
yeah.
title.
Okay, that's where the
Clarify,
confusion.
let's clarify, okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
Because you nominated.
I know, yeah.
Peter,
but
so-
yeah, I was like, okay.
So let's start over. Can we?
Sure.
Okay, so is there a second for Torres de Luna to be chair? We know the answer. You're good. Yeah,
Probably gonna be a stalemate.
right, it's gonna
But
be, yeah.
you could second yourself.
Oh, I could second myself. Okay, well, there you go. Then I'll second myself.
That way you can get the vote,
Yeah, and
or at
then,
least call the vote.
all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay. Or abstain, to be nice.
Okay, and, okay, abstain. So then we have two.
I didn't hear Commissioner Rodriguez's vote.
I abstained from the vote.
So then we don't have a quorum.
Oh,
So-
nay.
Okay, that's helpful.
Sorry.
Okay, so 2 yes, 2 no.
Yeah, oh, no, there was
One
one,
no.
One no. Oh,
Right.
right, one abstain, right?
Right, so there
Okay.
was 2 yes and 1 no,
Yeah.
and so that's a yes,
Oh, it is?
right? So,
Okay,
right, so the quorum is 3, because there was an abstention.
okay.
So the majority is 2 of 3.
Okay,
So that's why
okay.
it's a yes, yes,
Okay, so then we do the vice chair.
right.
So is there, so yes, so I'm the chair.
Yeah.
So is there a nomination for vice chair?
I'll nominate Peter Hernandez to be vice chair.
Second.
Do you accept?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstain? Okay, we're all in agreement. Okay, and I think that's everything. Yep, meeting adjourned at 6:55. Thank you.
Short.
Great, thank you.